May all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be free from harm. May all beings love life. May all beings awaken. Welcome to another Cuke Audio mini podcast. I pray that you and yours are safe and comfortable, free from economic hardship, and able to get out and do whatever it is you want within the limitations of the universal precept of do as little harm as possible. So, last night I read the introduction to Zen Is Right Here. As it was written, when did it come out? 2007? The original one, 2001? Yeah, I think. Maybe 2002. Anyway, this is the introduction to Zen Is Right Now. So I'm just going to start from the top where it has the name of the book. I'm going to lead up to the introduction because a great deal of the introduction is just quoting from the introduction to Zen Is Right Here, and I'm not going to read it again. It was last night, But I thought this would be a neat thing to do. And to remind you that these two new books are out with matching hardback covers. But Zen Is Right Now is a new release, July, and Zen Is Right Here is it's still the paperback in the older version is available. Very few changes inside the book you wouldn't notice. So anyway, it goes Zen Is Right Now. More teaching stories and anecdotes of Shunryu Suzuki, edited by David Chadwick. They say this book was the author of this book is Shunryu Suzuki, which of course is questionable. But that way, by saying, and I don't care, they get it listed under his name, which will make it sell more, right? And they're trying to stay in business, just like in one way or another, you and me. All right. So after that, it goes to the epigraph, the quote. And I like this quote. Naturally, that's why I used it. Thinking is a good tool and a bad master. Alan Watts. Brilliant guy. Underappreciated in many circles. So, here is the introduction. Here is a new collection of vignettes about Shunryu Suzuki. The first such publication, Zen Is Right Here, was put together a couple of decades ago after the biography of Suzuki, Crooked Cucumber, had been out a year. First errata. That's not right. After it had been out a couple of years. I'll get that. I should email them now and let them know in case, they can change it. God, can you believe that? When you're looking for errata, sometimes you don't look in very obvious places. I mean, just when I read it, I go, well, no, that's not true. Well, I went over this book. Of course, the introduction is the last thing I did. Anyway, enough on that. Throughout the ensuing years, I've continued working in this area and have selected some more memories about him that stuck in people's minds and that I thought you, dear reader, might appreciate. Many of the vignettes herein are from exchanges that happened at Tassajara Zen Mountain Center during a formal question and answer ceremony with Suzuki called Shosan. In interviews, emails, and conversations, Suzuki's students have related Shosan memories more than from any other single source. Shunryu Suzuki is often referred to as Suzuki Roshi, Roshi being an honorific meaning venerable old respected priest. He is best known for the books of his lectures, principally Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, but also Not Always So and Branching Streams Flow in the Darkness. In case you don't know anything about Shunryu Suzuki, or just need to have your memory refreshed on the basic background, I can do no better than to include some of the introduction from Zen Is Right Here. But first, a few words from students of his. And then it says, see credits at the end of the book for names. Suzuki had a very human style. He never put on airs. He was traditional, yet able to take a chance, which he sure did in San Francisco in the 60s, going there and starting Tassajara and all. I've never met anyone like Suzuki since. I can't remember who said that, and I probably won't remember who said the others. I could have gone and checked and been able to tell you. But, you can get the book and look and see. I remember, here's another one. I remember he used to say that every teaching of every Buddha was really for that moment, at that place, for those people or that person, and that it's imperfect. It's even imperfect at that moment, but it's close to perfect. Here's the next one. Instead of putting emphasis on our small mind, on entertaining ourselves with thinking, Suzuki Roshi taught us to cultivate the big mind. All right. And here's the next one. Suzuki Roshi told us not to ask questions about our personal problems, but to only talk about issues with our practice. Good luck. People cannot help but ask teachers questions about their personal problems like they were therapists. And not just personal problems, about anything, who's going to win an election or whatever. Here's another one. I experienced Suzuki Roshi in 3 ways. There was a kind of worn-out old man and a highly cultured man, and then the Zen master. That's Steve Allen, who has a center in Crestone, Colorado, one of the 2 Zen centers in Crestone, Colorado, out of the Suzuki lineage. That one, Steve Allen's, is called it's the Dragon Mountain Zen Center in Crestone. That's his place. And next, I never saw Suzuki Roshi read from anything when he gave a lecture unless he was looking at the text he was speaking on. He just talked about what was on his mind at the moment. But there was this presence, like the sutra come to life. I think that Stan White said that. Stan White? Yeah, what a character. And the next one, Suzuki Roshi was the most remarkable person I ever met. No one else comes close. From Suzuki Roshi, I learned that there could be a person like that. Others have mentioned how his movements flowed naturally and how he sat down or walked. I remember this same quality in his response to people. He responded very naturally and simply, but from a deep place. Watching him, I could begin to understand what it means to be egoless. He didn't seem to be dragging around heavy feelings the way most of us do, and yet He was bringing his life experience to bear on whatever happened. That's a woman. I'm not sure which one. I remember it. I remember them all. It's just connecting with the person who told me. And then, lastly, he repeatedly told me what we've got to do is to establish an American Zen. He's Japanese, and so am I. But he wanted to establish an American Zen, whatever that turned out to be. All right, and then I read from the introduction to Zen Is Right Here. Tells how he came to America, established a group. Again, this is in yesterday's podcast. The art of the temple is the Zendo. The dual nature of reality. I'm giving you a summary of each sentence. He encouraged his students above all to be themselves. I really like the way I did it. Michael Winger, who has worked a good deal with the Suzuki Lecture Archive in San Francisco Zen Center Publications, once said he had an image of Suzuki with a bow shooting arrows up into the air, hoping they landed on target. We are all his target. I hope some of the arrows that follow land on you. And I end the introduction with that. It's a nice, I really wasn't interested in writing an introduction. These things, it takes time, to put this sort of thing together. I'll read you the first one. In a Shosan ceremony, I walked up towards Suzuki and said, "What now?" He said, "Don't ask me. Now is now. You have your now. I have my now. That is why now is so important. It is beyond question and answer." I know who asked that question. That was me. Boy, and that might have been 1967. Yeah. Hey, I'm going to give you one more. And Dennis Sampson told me this. Oh, he told me some great ones. He's got a good memory for I don't know. I mean, he just remembered some snappy moments. So here it is. A student said to Suzuki that it seemed to him that we need to have some amount of ego, and asked, "But how much do we need?" Suzuki answered, "Just enough so that you don't step in front of a bus." So I'll leave the rest for you to discover when you either buy the hardback book, the Kindle ebook, or the audiobook with the professional reader and the very carefully selected bells and natural sounds. Or borrow it from a friend, get it secondhand, read it in a library. I cannot tell you the number of people that write me about my books and tell me all the ways they went, all the extremes they went to not to have to pay for it. It's how artists, recording artists, are all the bottom was pulled out of their market, a lot of them, because of the ability just to, copy and send things digitally, and the way it all, it's just all hot to heck. Well, and then we think, well, with books, it's not that way. You had to buy a book. No, there was something going on. In the first place, the person who did all the work and writes the book just gets a small percentage, really, of the sale price. You wouldn't believe how small. I thought when I met Alan Watts, I made some stupid, 21-year-old comment about how he must be rolling in dough from all the books he sold. Like the Way of Zen was just one of many. And he said, I get only a penny a copy for each one of those that sold. I doubt that, but I know how I felt. Anyway, unless you really strike it big, you're doing it for the love of doing it. And you know what? You're really lucky if you get published. So be grateful. Be grateful. A lot of people pay to get their books published. I've paid to get some of my books published. You can do it really cheap now, though. And then I don't promote them. I just let them sit on. They're on cukepress.com. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make them all into audiobooks. There's a better market for that. So look, I've gone on way too long for this very brief introduction. So it's been a pleasure being with you again. Thank you very much for joining me. And this has been another Cuke Audio mini podcast, one of the longer ones, I'd say. I'm DC Booba of Cuke Archives and Cuke Audio, coming to you from sleepy Sonora with Dogga Bandita, Feline Cuchita, and dear lovely Katrinka. And we're wishing you and yours and all of us a grand awakening.